Hey moms, hi dads. I am so glad that you are here. Today we are going to talk about 10 superfoods for pregnancy to give you some inspiration, help you implement some of what we have learned. And the best part is that you get to fall in love with some new foods or some old goodies that you now can truly enjoy and feel good about eating. So let's get started by talking about my favorite and number one superfood for pregnancy, which is pasture-raised eggs. Eggs are absolutely one of the most incredible superfoods for pregnancy. They have protein, vitamins, and a lot of minerals that a lot of pregnant women are missing in their diets. They are also one of the very few non-seafood sources of DHA, which is linked to higher IQs in infants. They also have folate, B vitamins, antioxidants, trace minerals. They are incredible. When it comes to your eggs, though, if you can, make sure to choose pasture-raised. Quality really does make a difference. At the end of the day, we're looking for getting as many minerals packed into your diet as possible. As many minerals, not minerals, nutrients. Some minerals, but also other vitamins, right? So if we're looking at how do you get the most vitamins, the most minerals, the most good things for you in one meal, you can shift the balance by choosing high quality foods. If we look at eggs, vitamin A density 30% higher in pasture raised eggs. Vitamin E is double that of the commercial alternative. Omega-3 content much higher, 2 times higher. Omega-6 levels are lower. This is really good. Omega-6, we need a little bit of it, but we need omega-3s more. That balance is very, very important. And then the vitamin D content is 3 to 6 times higher due to that regular sun exposure. So if possible, make sure to choose high quality when it comes to your eggs and across the board your food. We've talked a little bit about choline. This word has come up several times in the past few videos. Choline, there's a ton of it in your pasture-raised eggs. Choline has many of the same benefits of folate, that it helps foster brain development and it helps prevent neural tube defects. It can also permanently change the genetic expression of your baby in a good way. It's a very protective nutrient. We talked about how a lot of most moms are actually deficient in this. And when we look at animal studies very regularly show that choline, when the mother has a lot of choline, enough choline, it provides lifelong improvements in memory. Lifelong. Just 2 eggs with the yolks will provide about half of your daily needs for this nutrient, right? So add eggs back into your diet if you took them out. Add the yolks back in. They taste the best anyways, right? I don't know if you agree with me or not. Let me know. All right, next let's talk about liver. Liver is really considered one of nature's multivitamins. It is the multivitamin that nature gives us. Aside from eggs, it is one of the only real sources of choline. As far as getting choline from food. It also happens to be rich in almost every single other vitamin and mineral that modern nutrition science has identified so far. It has everything that you need. The iron in liver is it's called heme iron, and it's very well absorbed, and it doesn't carry any side effects such as constipation that you might get if you're getting your iron from supplements. Low iron during pregnancy, it is a risk factor for developing things like preeclampsia, hypothyroidism, and preterm birth. And it also directly the level irons that you have directly impact the iron levels that your baby has. And low levels are associated with impaired brain development and difficult growth or slower growth. And that kind of continues through their first year of life if you have low iron. So it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to and make sure that you're getting iron either through liver or through other sources. Liver is also one of the richest food sources of folate, vitamin B12. Both are key to maintaining healthy red blood cells and fostering that healthy brain development in your baby. Folate, again, also helps prevent birth defects. Most of us tend to look for folate from our supplements. And supplements, a lot of supplements will have folic acid instead of folate or methylfolate or L-methylfolate. But 60% of people, 60% of women can't change folic acid into the methylfolate or the folate that the body uses. So if you eat liver, that helps ensure that you're getting the usable form of that vitamin. Also, spinach is really high in those leafy greens. There's a lot of dietary sources of folate. But for comparison, 1 ounce of liver contains 200 times more vitamin B12 than the muscle meat from beef. So it's really, really, really a nutrient powerhouse. Another thing that liver is really, really great for is vitamin A, A, D, E, K, all there in liver. But let's stop a little bit and talk about vitamin A, because vitamin A is really, really useful to you. If we're talking about your birth, the vitamin A helps form the receptors for your oxytocin. And if you remember when we talked about oxytocin and how that is going to drive your birth forward, and that's going to help you have pain relief. It's really great for you to have vitamin A, but it's also important for your baby, for their growth. It helps their heart develop, their lungs, their kidneys, their eyes, their bones, their circulatory system, their respiratory system, their nervous system. Vitamin A also, if we go back to after birth, it's going to really help you with your tissue, repairing all tissues after birth as well. Unfortunately, there was a study, a Dutch study, where 1,700 women were followed, and it was found that 70% of those that had avoided liver didn't meet the dietary recommendation of vitamin A. Now, this is really important because people often think about nutritional deficiencies as being a resource deficiency, right? But when we're looking at the Dutch study, the women in the study were well educated, they were well off financially. The only reason they weren't getting the nutrients is because they were not being given the right information to get the nutrients they needed. So if you can, add some liver to your diet. You don't need a lot. A few ounces a week. You can add liver to anything with ground beef. You can't really taste it. Chicken livers are easier to find. They're more mild in taste. And you don't need much liver to go a really long ways. If we look at a lot of traditional cultures, if you think about okay, they used to eat tail to nose, right? They used every piece of the meat. And it's very traditional to save the liver for the pregnant people in the population. But if you think about you have a big animal, or if you think about a chicken, still decently large, and just a little bit of liver, right? So you don't need to overdo it and eat it every day, but just think about adding a little bit in throughout your pregnancy. All right, next superfood, slow cooked meat. Animal foods that really do provide the most readily available and absorbed forms of iron and zinc. Consequences of iron deficiency in pregnancy: anemia, miscarriage, premature delivery, thyroid problems, and all kinds of other problems. I don't want to go into all the what if things go wrong, but just know that when you're eating good quality meat, you're preventing a lot of problems, right? So sometimes people ask me, well, can I be a vegetarian and still have a healthy pregnancy? The answer is yes. There are plenty of people who have had healthy pregnancies and who avoid meat, but you're going to need to be extra, extra diligent in figuring out what your body actually needs. Slow cooked meat specifically brings out and makes available nutrients so your body can absorb it. Meat is also rich in vitamin B6, which about 40% of women are deficient in. This helps prevent preterm birth, miscarriage, low APGAR scores. Also, glycine is found in just slow cooked meat and bone broth. It's not really, it comes out when you use like the bone in versions of meat, which is very protective for you as far as preventing stretch marks and detoxification. And you won't find it in lean meats, skinless poultry, or dairy products, or vegetarian sources of protein. So if you think about like your pot roast, your pulled pork, your skin on bone in the chicken section, your bacon, sausages, ground meats, or you can even supplement with a gelatin powder or a collagen powder if you absolutely cannot get this from your food. Those are all really, really, really good options. And if you notice, I did say bacon as a health food right there, so you're welcome. All right, so now let's talk about bone broth. This is a little extra work, but homemade bone broth is one of the most nutritious sources of food on the planet. It's where you use the bones, the skin, the connective tissue from animals, and it is really, really, really rich in gelatin, collagen, glycine, minerals. Bones, they contain more minerals per ounce than any other part of any other body tissue. So when you simmer the bones and those minerals leach into the water and the broth, you not only have something incredibly delicious and warming and amazing, you have something that's an amazing source of calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, potassium, other trace minerals. You can get soup bones from a butcher for a very low price. And again, pasture raised preferred, but conventional is absolutely better than nothing here. All right, next food. Da-da-da-da. Salmon and fish. You guys, so many women are told to avoid fish during pregnancy, and that is bad advice. Fish is one of those things people worry about because they think, well, what if it has mercury in it? And there are some fish that are more high in mercury than other fish. We'll talk about that in the next slide. However, fish also has selenium in it, which is a mineral that binds to mercury. So typically when you eat salmon or other smaller fish, you don't get the toxicity because of the selenium. Now, in a study on neurodevelopment for babies that had over 12,000 women in it, they found that women who ate more than 12 ounces of seafood a week had children with the highest IQs. There's definitely some great connections between seafood and brain development. It's also very high in vitamin D. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I wanted to also say this, that it wasn't just IQ. They also had higher communication skills. And the worst cognitive outcomes were among the people who ate no fish. These kids had more struggles with fine motor skills, social development, communication. Again, don't blame yourself if you didn't know, but just think about like, we're looking for some long-term benefits and we're looking to pick up as many long-term benefits as we can along the way to like just make things easier as we go. And eating fish, it's like salmon takes 15 minutes to make. It's so easy and doesn't make a mess. And it's one of those really great superfoods that you can throw in. Um, Also, salmon is a great source of vitamin D. 82% of women in one study were found to be vitamin D deficient, meaning like 82% of people didn't get enough vitamin D in their diet. Um, very interesting connection with vitamin D is that women who are deficient in vitamin D need an epidural or request epidurals on average sooner and are more likely to need assistance with pain management. So kind of crazy here. We're looking at vitamin A and vitamin D and even vitamin C when we're talking about these receptors in your brain and the ability to have a less painful birth. It really is important what you eat, which is very, very, very surprising. I think it was to me when I learned that, and to most people that I work with. And again, the salmon, if we go back to the brain health, it has lots of DHA, which is just great for your baby's brain and their eyes. Nice, sharp vision. All right. So best fish to eat, wild caught, of course, if possible. Salmon, sardines, halibut, rope, which is just fish eggs, herring, wild bass, mackerel, the small mackerel, and sablefish. If you can avoid larger fish, actually just avoid larger fish, not if you can, but just avoid it, which is your swordfish, shark, king mackerel, your tillafish, and other things. The bigger the fish, more likely it is to have higher concentrations of mercury. And then one more thing about wild caught versus fish that are specifically grown for food is that wild caught fish are the number one source of iodine. Iodine deficiency is the leading cause of preventable mental disabilities in the world. And iodine, it's not even found in half of prenatal vitamins. So if we're sitting here talking about like wanting to have really positive brain benefits for your baby, fish is where it's at, you guys. This is really, really a cool thing to know. All right, let's move on. Next is let's talk about your milk and your full fat cheeses. Milk is such a great, great, great source of nutrients, especially full fat milk, you guys. I love full fat milk. It is like, I used to avoid it because I thought it was so unhealthy for me to have the fat. And when I learned like that I was getting all these extra nutrients and vitamins that I needed, I brought it as a staple into my second pregnancy, and it has stayed with me ever since, and one of my favorite foods. My kids love it. The truth is, though, you do not have to consume dairy products to get enough calcium. But if you can tolerate calcium, I would just want to be aware that some people don't drink milk or can't drink milk. But if you can, full fat milks are a great source of vitamins A, D, E, and K, some B vitamins, probiotics, and iodine. The K2 that's found in dairy it's not widely available in other foods. You might be able to get different types of K, but the K2 specifically is found pretty much only in dairy. Vitamin K deficiency, it is an epidemic. Not enough K2 is being consumed, and not enough K1 is being consumed to be converted into K2. Vitamin K is famous for its blood clotting functions, and that's a really big deal after you give birth, because after you lose your placenta, you don't want to bleed, right? You want your body to be able to stop all the bleeding there and not have to worry about that long term. If you drink high quality sourced milk, can help you just in general prevent your body from becoming depleted as you're giving so many nutrients to your baby over time. Surprisingly, some people who are intolerant to conventional milk really can have pasture-raised organic milk. And even if you can't have milk, sometimes people can tolerate butter, cream, full-fat Greek yogurts, and aged cheese, which are all lower in the lactose sugar that people have reactions to. So if you can tolerate dairy. Also, another really cool thing is that some women who can't tolerate dairy before they're pregnant can tolerate it during pregnancy. So keep that in mind if you're evaluating whether dairy is right for you or not. Another really cool thing about cheeses is that cheese is one of those things that, especially soft cheeses, people are told to avoid. Soft cheeses have so many nutrients. People are told to avoid it because there's a small chance of getting listeria from soft cheeses. A lot of the food safety has changed. So now the real risk of getting listeria from a soft cheese is only 1 in 5 million. It's pretty low. Soft cheese in general provides protein, vitamin K, calcium, B vitamins, iodine, a lot of really, really good things that your body needs. So that's really a choice that you'll have to make is which cheeses and how much cheeses to include. And of course, always pay attention to regular food safety. Some people may choose to avoid the soft cheeses entirely. Hard cheeses, that's not an issue to worry. You don't have to worry about it at all. But many people do safely consume all cheeses during pregnancy. All right, next let's talk about probiotic-rich foods. Probiotics are basically just a healthy bacteria that live in your gut, skin, everywhere else on you basically. They create up your microbiome, and it's estimated that about 80% of your immune system is actually located right in your gut because of that microbiome. A poor balance of unhealthy and healthy bacteria can put you at risk for a lot of things I don't really want to go into. But if you can have lots of probiotic-rich foods, you will reduce your risks for preterm birth, preeclampsia, helps you curb weight gain, helps you have a healthy amount of weight gain because most people should gain weight. Not everybody though. Preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, your risks for all of those go down when you have a probiotic-rich diet. One study showed that the risk of gestational diabetes decreased by 23% when moms took probiotic supplements. Some really good probiotic foods are kefir, yogurt, aged cheese like Parmesan cheese, which is so good, sauerkraut, and then lacto-fermented vegetables, which is like your pickles, apple cider vinegar, kombucha, miso, natto, all of those good things. One more study I want to point out about probiotic foods is that for women who are GBS positive, so for women who test positive for GBS and then were treated with probiotics, 43% tested negative when checked into the hospital, whereas only 18% of the group tested negative from the placebo group. So probiotics really can make a difference in your health. And, you know, if you're looking to reduce interventions, if you're like, I don't want an antibiotic unless I really need an antibiotic, then leaning heavily on these probiotic-rich foods can help you kind of avoid infections and things like that. All right, next, very important food for pregnancy that I am sure you guys already know is important is your leafy greens, such as spinach, kale, chard. They are literally powerhouses when it comes to vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Kale alone has 45 different flavonoids, antioxidants. They are abundant in folate, which we talked about helps prevent against birth defects. They have a lot of vitamin C, which helps protect against infections. You have probably heard before how important leafy greens and spinach are to pregnancy. I just want to reiterate that if you've heard that, It is 100% true. Eat lots of them if you can, please. All right. The next one I want to talk about is salt, because a lot of moms are told to limit salt, which is actually pretty terrible, terrible, terrible advice. The Cochrane review has found that when you restrict salt in your diet, you actually make preeclampsia worse, can lead to low birth weight, fluid volume reduction, so less amniotic fluid for your baby to help protect them, less blood volume for both of you, growth restriction for babies, and lots of other problems. So please honor those salt cravings, your pickles, olives, sea salt. One thing that we should talk about with salt is that some salt is iodized and some isn't. We talked about iodine as being really protective to babies and helping you prevent birth defects. Unfortunately, it has a really short shelf life. So unless you just got that iodized salt and it just came from the factory making it, chances are there's not very much iodine actually in it. So if you're looking to really make sure that you have enough iodine for your baby, seaweed and seafood are really going to be your best starting points. Salt to taste. You just want the amount that feels good to you. If you are craving salty food, eat more salty foods. If you're feeling like you don't want salty foods, listen to what your body's telling you. You can kind of notice inadequate salt intake with dehydration, leg cramps, headaches, elevated blood pressure, constipation, low fluid levels, edema. All of those things are usually often signs that you might not be getting enough salt. If you're trying to treat any of those things, though, please speak with your doctor or a functional nutritionist who can help you figure out specifically in your diet the multiple puzzle pieces that you need to put together for that treatment. All right. The last superfood for pregnancy that I really wanted to go over is dates. Most studies usually look at dates starting when women eat dates starting the last 4 weeks of pregnancy. And 6 dates if they're the small kind, 3 if they're the larger medjool dates. Eating dates before pregnancy has some really, really, really super incredible benefits. You're more likely to have intact membranes when labor is started, more likely for your labor to begin on its own, a shorter first stage of labor. Most women who do eat dates, they are further dilated when they're admitted to their birthplace. You need less help, less augmentation of labor, less oxytocin, synthetic oxytocin to encourage labor. And in general, if you do have to have an induction, if your labor doesn't start on its own, women who eat dates are more likely to have vaginal delivery. Pretty cool, right? Like the foods we eat have these big and large and lasting impacts on our experiences. So just to close here, I want to say that you deserve to have really deeply nourishing and a highly satisfying diet. Food is there for us to enjoy it. The more we seek out and honor what our body needs, the more it gives to us. So I would encourage you to share your journey with food in the group. And just so in case you forgot, we do have all those giveaways, right? And when you choose to eat a healthy meal, if you snap a picture of it and then throw that in the group and just say something about why you chose it or tell us a little bit about it, you get entered for really cool giveaways. So I just want to encourage you to take those baby steps and to enjoy this journey and to sink into foods that are both healthy and nourishing and will help you have a better experience as you're meeting your baby. All right, have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about some good principles for actually creating really healthy and sustainable change as you're creating a healthier relationship with your food. Okay, we'll see you there.